This hour, Lauri Union is going to join us. She's the executive director of the Bertarelli Institute for Family Entrepreneurship at Babson College. She's going to join us to talk about family businesses, how you get them started, how you run them, how you pass them on to the next generation. There's so much more to it, I think, than maybe most people think. And it sounds like a really great idea until maybe it's not.
Well, you got to get along with everybody, don't you?
Well, you do. I mean, that's in business in general, but, I think people take a lot more chances when it's family members.
Yeah, very interesting.
Very interesting. So she's going to be along to talk to us a little bit about that coming up at 4:30.
And thanks very much. We're going to get to a subject now that I'm very interested in all this. We all know people that run family businesses. And I'm thinking of a father-son who used to run a pharmacy in downtown Framingham, Clough's Pharmacy. No longer there, but I'd go in quite a bit as a newspaper reporter and see what was going on downtown.
Sure.
And it was they were both wonderful guys, father and son, but some days they weren't getting along and some days they were getting along. And so it all depended. And you could tell right away when you walked in. But be that as it may, that's my intro to our next guest. Lauri Union is executive director of the Bertarelli Institute for Family Entrepreneurship at Babson. And Lauri, welcome. I'm sure that your focus is not the pharmacy in downtown Framingham, but there's some overlap. There has to be. So please do tell us what this is all about.
Absolutely. Well, actually, we are interested in the pharmacy in downtown Framingham.
Okay.
It turns out that, something that many people don't know is that family businesses account for 81% of all businesses worldwide, and they also account for 75% of all startups. So, family businesses are really everywhere. We often don't see them because we sort of, especially in the U.S., have more of an individualistic approach. But they really are undergirding our economy. Mm-hmm. So we're interested in all family businesses. But actually, at the Bertarelli Institute, we have a little bit of a different focus, a broader focus, really. We are focused on family entrepreneurship, and I can distinguish that from family business in the sense that family business is really a topic about how a family that owns a business impacts that business and kind of how to control that through processes like succession planning, which is very important. But we think about family entrepreneurship at Babson, and we think about family entrepreneurship because we know that if 81% of all businesses worldwide are family businesses, and it's actually more than 70% of global GDP, the real power is in those families to be able to create value together. So we actually focus first on the families and how they function together, just like this example that you gave of these guys, father and son in the pharmacy. Our focus is on how can we help families be able to, we call it be generative together. You'll be able to function in ways that they can create value, because we know if families can do that, then, whether they need to sell their business, the average business maybe only lasts about 10 years anyway these days. They're going to be able to carry forward if they can work effectively together.
So distinguish for us, you've said you can, what a family business is versus family entrepreneurship, or give us some practical examples of what you're talking about.
So a family business focus would tend to, in a narrow way, think about, let's take the pharmacy, for example. A family business focus would really be around how can that particular pharmacy stay in the hands of that family, and what do we need to make sure that happens. A family entrepreneurship focus would say, maybe it's the right thing for this family to keep that pharmacy, but, maybe actually the son can take the knowledge of his father that comes from running a retail outlet, that comes from the pharmaceutical industry. He might be able to use that to grow that existing business, or use that knowledge to even start a new business. That son can do what really taps into his talents, passions, and skills. It's not all about just kind of, we say it's kind of, like trying to fit in someone else's shoes. He doesn't have to fit into his father's shoes, but he can use his father's shoes to go somewhere else if that's the best thing for him. That's the difference.
Lauri Union with us at Babson. We're talking about this Family Entrepreneurship Center that Lauri runs. Now, all kinds of questions occur to me, but here's one. I mean, what are the challenges to family, to both the businesses and the entrepreneurship? I mean, well, let me put it this way. What is most likely to break it apart and not make it work?
So, again, you had it right in the very first thing that you brought up, which is it's the relationships. So, 70% of Americans say that their families are dysfunctional. So, and some people say that the other 30% are lying. But
that's
but
true,
really,
by the way.
Yeah, exactly. But so, when you take these challenging family relationships, and family relationships can be challenging without being outright hostile. It can just be that, we never actually talk about anything. We talk about the weather, or, we talk about kind of general stuff, but we never really talk in depth. So there can be a range of, what can be, let's say,
so, Lauri, are you giving these folks group therapy? I mean, what do you deliver to these? Do they come to you and say, look, fix us? Yeah.
So we actually, we use family systems theory, and we actually don't really do group therapy. What we do is we teach a core set of family entrepreneurial leadership skills, and we teach individuals and families how to use those skills to be able to then create value in a family context. So it is, backed in the science of family systems theory. The skills that we teach are, they're not things that anyone would be surprised and say, well, I never heard about that. Mm-hmm. But, it's simple things like, for example, effective listening. But, the truth is it's not that easy, actually, to be a really good, effective listener. So for most people, it takes considerable practice. So we focus on a set of what are actually quite simple skills, but when people actually use those, then it turns out that they actually are able to communicate effectively as a family. And what I mean by that is, what can happen is people can be reactive towards each other. And so some people get cut off, people aren't listening to each other. Ultimately, the ideas don't get heard and the problems don't get solved. And that's, again, one thing just in a family context. But when you have a business, if you're on a regular basis making suboptimal decisions because you can't hear other people's ideas and you can't collaborate, eventually that's going to hurt your business.
Well, Lauri, what makes that any different from any other business that you may be in? Let's say you have a partner and you're in a business and you're not related to them, but you've invested together. I mean, what makes the family business so much different and the dynamic so much different?
Yeah, so some things, are, very people are people, right? But the difference is that families have a whole lifetime of relationships. Some people might call it baggage, but families have a whole lifetime of relationships that they bring into a business decision. And those conversations and relationships, they're there when you come home at night. They're there, when you have a family event. It's not something that you can just isolate from the rest of your life. So it's just much more intense than a situation that is maybe just a regular business situation.
Mm-hmm. Lauri Union with us. She oversees the Bertarelli Institute for Family Entrepreneurship at Babson. Hey, Lauri, it's fascinating stuff.
Really interesting.
Yeah, come back and talk to us. That's Lauri Union at Babson.